So I already made a video on the Giants offense and how they can improve that, as well as the introduction. So I'm going to be moving on to the defense. If you've clicked on this video and you haven't seen a video, or you haven't seen the predecessor to this video about how the Giants can improve their offense, then go watch that video. It's the intro. It explains everything, because you'll be a little bit lost. But anyways, if you have watched that video, we did the offense in that video. So I'm going to continue with some defense today. Yeah, so let's just get started and let's go on to defense. So we're going to start off with the defensive line, as always, and we're going to start off with defensive ends. Now let's talk about Olivier Vernon. Now the Giants defensive ends this year, Olivier Vernon and Jason Pierre-Paul, of course. Now Vernon had I believe 63 solo tackle. Wait, sorry. 44 total solo tackles, 19 assisted. By the way, if some of the stats on the slides are a little different from some that I'm saying, it's because the stats that are on the slides are the regular season, while the stats here are the total from the Giants website. But anyway, which is I believe 8th in total. Ouch. 3rd in solo and 10th in sacks in the league in terms of D linemen. Now he also has 8.5 sacks, of course, which is 10th in the league for defensive linemen. He also had one forced fumble, which I believe was recovered by Jason Pierre-Paul for a touchdown. I believe that was Vernon. I'm not sure. I think it was Vernon. Now, Jason Pierre-Paul, of course, he is a free agent. Now, he's 17th in total tackles this year, with 53. He had 35 solo, 18 assisted. Of course, he did miss a few games, including the big playoff game this year, which if he did play in that game at full health, he probably would have maybe got some more pressure on Rodgers, and who knows, maybe he doesn't make, maybe on the first touchdown, Rodgers doesn't make such a good pass, and it's incomplete, it's only a field goal, and then maybe at the half, maybe Rodgers doesn't make as great of a throw, and the Giants might win. But you know what? Enough talking about the past. It depresses me. But Jason Pierre-Paul, of course, he had three forced fumbles and one recovered for a touchdown, or one recovery of a fumble for a touchdown. I believe that was the one that was knocked out of, that was against the Browns. He did have 7 sacks along with 35 solo tackles, 18 assisted, and yeah, he's only 27 years old, by the way. So now moving on to options the Giants have. Calais Campbell is a 30-year-old defensive end who, if the Giants aren't able to sign Jason Pierre-Paul, they could always go after him. Now, 16 games, he had 1 interception, 6 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, 3 recovered fumbles, a touchdown, 8 sacks, 34 solo, and 19 assisted tackles, along with a safety. Now, another option the Giants have is Chris Long. Now, he's, of course, a Patriot, so there's a good chance Patriots might lose a few players. We already know Martellus Bennett recently announced that he is going to test free agency, which makes sense. Now, Long is 31 years old. In 16 games, he started only 7 of them. He had 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 4 sacks, 22 total, and 22 solo and 13 assisted tackles. Yeah. And then moving on to Myles Garrett, or some drafts options the Giants have. Myles Garrett comes up, of course, the defensive end, who's listed to go number 1 overall. Yeah, let's be honest, the Giants aren't going to trade up and get him. What are they going to trade with the Browns? Exactly nothing. But some more realistic options include Derek Barnett. Now, Derek Barnett is one of the rumored names the Giants are going, that is rumored to be a possible option for the Giants to draft if JPP does not resign. And he is listed to go 9, 19th, 23rd, and 28th by the mock drafts. In 13 games, he did have 40 solo, 16 assisted tackles. He also had 13 sacks, an interception, 5 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles as well in his last season in 2016. Now, another big option is Taco Charlton, who's actually another option a lot of Giants fans are saying they would like to see, and I would like to see him too. He's listed to go 6th, 21st, 22nd, and then not listed to go in the first round in one of the mock drafts. So, of course, in 11 games, he did have 20 solo, 20 assisted tackles, along with 10 sacks and 2 pass deflections. So, again, another great option. Of course, Charlton could also be an option. Maybe he's out. Maybe they might play him. as a pass rushing outside linebacker, even if they do get JPP, which I don't know about that. I think they need to really work on their offense. But Solomon Thomas, of course, is another good option. He's listed to go 17th, 17th, and 28th. Now, in 13 games, he had 40 solo, 21 assisted tackles, as well as 8.5 sacks and 2 fumble recoveries. And then moving on to defensive tackle. Yeah. I mean, anyways, defensive end I think is pretty good. We do know that the Giants are going to have to work on, like, keeping Jason Pierre-Paul. I apologize for yawning. I'm kind of tired. But, yeah. Now, defensive tackles. Now, this is a pretty important position. So, of course, last year the Giants made that big free agent signing of Damon Snacks Harrison. And in 16 games, he had a forced fumble, 2.5 sacks, 55 solo tackles, 31 assisted tackles, and was named to the first team All-Pro in this year. Pretty good. He was also named the best run defender. I believe I forgot who named him that. But he did win that award by some group named him that. So Harrison is a big reason why the Giants defense was one of the best in run stopping, and a big reason why they were able to beat teams beat teams that were decent running teams. They were able to really limit them, and even against teams even against Ezekiel Elliott and Le'Veon Bell, they were able to limit those guys in the yards they got. They were able to beat Elliott, but they weren't able to beat Bell because of the offense. Jonathan Hankins is a free agent this year, but he's actually the most underlooked player on this line. Now, he's 24 years old, so he's relatively young. And in 16 games, he had a forced fumble, 3 sacks, 29 solo tackles, 14 assisted tackles, which is actually pretty good. You know, Hankins is one of the more underlooked guys on this line. He's a pretty important part of the team. And the Giants, I believe there's been some rumors that they're not going to re-sign him, which would suck because he's definitely a player that would, he's a player that it'd be nice to have him back. Probably wouldn't cost that much either. Now, moving on to the options the Giants have, of course, they could always go out and find someone like Geno Atkins, Dontari Poe. But let's be honest, they're probably not going to spend money on another defensive tackle. But if they do want to draft one, they could, although I doubt they would, but still. Now, Jonathan Allen is listed to go in the top 4 of almost every single draft anyone has. He's either listed he's not listed to go first, but some drafts have him going second, third, or fourth mostly. Now, Malik McDowell, Jonathan Allen again. It would take a big trade up to get him. Don't think the Giants are going to do that. Now, moving on to Malik McDowell, he's listed to go 7th, 19th, and 22nd in the mock drafts, and once he's not listed to go at all in the first round. In 9 games, he did have 20 solo, 14 assisted tackles, as well as 1.5 sacks in 2016. So he really isn't a pass rusher. The only reason I think the Giants would draft a defensive tackle is maybe for a pass rusher, because they could use all the help they could get rushing that QB. That's the big thing. If you want to have an elite defense, you got to be able to get to the quarterback and have cornerbacks and defensive backs who can stay with the receivers long enough to let your guys get to the QB, and vice versa. So, it makes sense to go for a pass rusher, but Malik McDowell doesn't make that much sense. However, Carlos Watkins does make sense. He's only listed to go in the first round in one of the mock drafts, 12th. So maybe he's most likely going to be available at 26, but maybe he might be available late in the second round, and the Giants could get him and have him be, another elite defensive tackle. And in 15 games, he had 30 solo, 20 assisted tackles, as well as 10.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 4 pass deflections. And then going on to Caleb Brantley, he's listed to go 16th and 24th, and then 2 drafts don't have him listed in the first round. And he's listed in 11 games, he had 16 solo, 15 assisted tackles, 2.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. Now, from the stats, Brantley and McDowell, of course, look more like run stoppers. Don't really look like big, guys who are going to get a lot of sacks. Guys are going to get a lot of pressure on the QB. I'm going to go more Carlos Watkins there. But Watkins could be an option maybe in the second or third round, if the Giants don't want to take him in the first round. Now, let's move on to linebackers. Now, this is an interesting position because if you look at the Giants' linebackers, none of these names really jump out to you. However, they do have a lot of solid linebackers, and none of them are in their 30s yet. Casillas actually might be in his 30s. But let's go by each of them. Now, we of course have Jonathan Casillas, the leader of the linebacker core, in my opinion. Now, in 16 games, he started all but one of them. He had 7 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 1.5 sacks, 59 solo tackles, 33 assisted tackles, which is 92 total tackles, which is which is a lot of tackles. It's a lot of tackles. I think it's like second or third on the Giants, behind Landon Collins, I believe. He's also a 2-time Super Bowl champion, so Casillas is a big reason why the Giants had a good run defense. I mean, he has, you can see all those tackles. Majority of them were like short pass tackles, and we know majority of those tackles are like run stops and stuff. Now, Keenan Robinson, a free agent this year, he's 27 years old. In 16 games, he did start 6. He had 7 pass deflections. I don't know why I put reflections in the slide. Oopsie daisy. 52 solo, 27 assisted, 79 total tackles. Robinson had a decent year, but of all the Giants free agents, if they had to let Robinson go to free up salary, I would not mind it, because the Giants don't necessarily need to have amazing linebackers. I mean, their linebackers are still pretty good. Now, looking at Devin Kennard, in 25 games, he had 16... Sorry, he's 25 years old. In 16 games, he started 9. He did have 1 pass deflection. He had a sack, a forced fumble, and a recovery. He had 38 solo tackles and 20 assisted tackles for 58 total tackles. So pretty good amount of tackles for Kennard. He's pretty young. He's not a pass rusher, like an elite pass rusher, but he did do a very solid job of tackling. The Giants, maybe an option they might want to go with is maybe somehow get a pass rushing outside linebacker. That way, the Giants don't necessarily need one, but if they wanted to boost their team, they could always get a pass rushing outside linebacker along with a good defensive end, and they could easily get like some more pressure on the QB. Now moving on to Kelvin Sheppard, and he's 20 years old. He's also a free agent, just like Robinson. In 16 games, he had 11 starts, 2 pass deflections, 27 solo, and 20 assisted tackles. Now, Sheppard would be a good guy to sign if the Giants have enough money to sign him. He should be pretty cheap. Well, if the Giants need cap space, he and Robinson could be guys to go. Now, some options I found for the Giants about doing this are signing Nick Perry, or Lorenzo Alexander, or drafting Takkarist McKinley or Tim Williams. Now, Nick Perry, obviously a very young linebacker from the Packers. I don't know if the Packers are foolish enough to let him go. That'd be very weird. They definitely need to work on their defense. I mean, they were very injured, but they still need to work on maybe improving their defense a little bit. Especially if they're going to stop teams like the Falcons and help Aaron Rodgers out. So Perry was one of the bright spots. He had a very good year, as you can see his stats. Now, Lorenzo Alexander from the Buffalo Bills, I highly doubt he resigns with the Bills. The 2-time Pro Bowler, including last year, he was a Pro Bowler, or he was a Pro Bowler this year that just passed. He had an interception in 16 games. He also had 6 pass deflections, 3 forced fumbles, 12.5 sacks, 50 solo tackles, and 14 assisted tackles. So a very good year, a breakout year for the 33-year-old Alexander. He could be a guy looking to win a Super Bowl that might take a little bit of a pay cut for the Giants if the Giants have money. If the Giants want to go using the draft for that speedy pass rusher, outside linebacker pass rusher, they could go for Takkarist McKinley, listed to go 14th, 16th, 24th, and then one time not in the first round. Now, in 11 games, he had 50 solo tackles, 11 assisted tackles, including 18 tackles for a loss and 11 sacks, along with 6 pass deflections. Pretty good stats. And then Tim Williams, of course, listed to go 21st, 29th, and 30th. And now in 14 games, he had 22 solo tackles and 9 assisted, including 16 for a loss and 9 sacks. So those are really the pass rushing linebackers for the Giants. Now, moving on to, I believe it's cornerback. Now, the Giants have the luxury of having 3 great corners, or a good amount of depth at corner. Now, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and I can't really, him and Jonas Jenkins are the 1 and 2 guys. Now, DRC is 30 years old, and now in 15 games here, he had 6 picks, 21 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, a sack, 41 solo tackles, 8 assisted tackles, and he's a 2-time Pro Bowler. Now, Janoris Jenkins was a Pro Bowler this year. He had 28 games. He's 28 years old, sorry. He had 15 games, and in those games he had 3 interceptions, 18 pass deflections, a forced fumble and recovery, which is, of course, the famous one against Dez Bryant to give the Giants the ball and basically give them the victory over the Cowboys. He also had 1 sack, 44 solo tackles, and 5 assisted tackles. So Jenkins and DRC are a very formidable 1-2 group. They're a big reason why the Giants were one of the best teams on defense this year. Both those guys, Jenkins, of course, famous for the fact that he gets a lot of touchdowns on defense. He's gotten a lot of pick six, including I believe like a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown. Yeah, I think he had one of those, which is pretty insane. That's pretty insane. Then you have Eli Apple, the rookie who the Giants drafted in the first round last year, 21 years old. Now in 14 games, he started 11 of those games. He had 1 interception, 7 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 2 recoveries, 41 solo, and 8 assisted tackles. Apple is developing into probably DRC's replacement when he retires or leaves the Giants eventually. Now, some options the Giants have if they want to, I don't know, if for some reason they decide, hey, let's get more corners. That makes no sense. I doubt they do that. They could always go after Prince Amukamara, he was a Giant the year before. It was a Giant in 2015. He was DRC's partner. He left. He's 27 years old. In 14 games this year, he had 0 interceptions, only 6 pass deflections, 46 solo, and 3 assisted tackles. Not the greatest stats, but you know what? Maybe he takes a low contract and maybe becomes a nice, add some more depth to the cornerback position. Although I don't think the Giants really need it, but maybe he might become a safety. Who knows? Now, Captain Munnerlyn, again, another good option. 28 years old. In 15 games, he had 9 starts, no interceptions, 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 38 solo, and 17 assisted tackles. So another solid player the Giants could get. If the Giants really wanted to draft another cornerback in the first round, Marshawn Lattimore is there, Sidney Jones is there, Marlon Humphrey is there, Quincy Wilson, Teez DeBoer are all guys they could go after. I'm not gonna go in depth with those guys though, because if I do, I really don't feel like the Giants need to do anything at cornerback. Let's be honest. You have great cornerback depth. It makes no sense. Maybe sign like I can't even, honestly, the only reason I just pile these here is just because if for some reason maybe DRC leaves, or I don't know, Jenkins gets injured, during the offseason, maybe one of these guys might be good for the Giants. But, of course, you're probably wondering where I put Leon Hall. Well, he played a bunch of games at safety this year, so I listed him there. So, moving on to safety, the Giants, of course, had Landon Collins, the Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year. Had 5 picks, 1 pick six, 13 pass deflections, a fumble recovery, 4 sacks, 100 solo tackles, 25 assisted tackles. He was a Pro Bowler this year and made the first team All-Pro in 2016. It was truly a breakout in his sophomore year. Landon Collins. He is the foundation for what this defense is built on. He is definitely the best defensive player. He's a ball hawk. He's a hard hitter. He's definitely one of the best. Now, moving on to Leon Hall. He's a 32-year-old free agent this year. In 12 games, he had 1 interception against the Cowboys, of course, 2 pass deflections, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 20 solo, and 10 assisted tackles. He brings a lot of depth to the defensive back position, and he's someone who the Giants should keep if they can. He was a solid safety. If the Giants do want to pair Landon Collins up with another really good safety, they could always try and sign Eric Berry, although I don't even think they have enough money to sign Berry, and if they do, they're not signing JPP Hankins, and they're not signing anybody to improve their offense. It doesn't make sense to sign Eric Berry, but just let's have some fun here and imagine they do sign Berry. They're getting a 20-year-old safety who in 16 games last year had 4 interceptions, including 2 returns for a touchdown. He had the famous pick 2 against the Falcons, 9 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 62 solo tackles, 15 assisted tackles. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, including the last 2 years, and the 3-time first-team All-Pro. He got both honors for the last 2 years. So Eric Berry, I mean, if the Chiefs are stupid enough to let him go, then, or if the Chiefs just don't have enough money and they decide to go with Dontari Poe instead of him, then Eric Berry could very well end up with the Giants. But he does want a lot of money, so that could be problematic. And that's something that Def Giants, I don't know if they have the cap space. I mean, after last year, how much they spent on their defense, it would be kind of hard for the team to, keep the big guys and get Eric Berry. If the Giants did want to draft a safety, they could always go for someone like Jamal Adams. He is listed to go in the top 6. I mean, they'd have to trade up for him. Same with Malik Hooker. Both guys have some pretty nice stats. But one guy that maybe might not be so bad is Jabril Peppers. Now, Peppers is listed to go 5th and 18th on mock drafts, as well as not going in the top 32 in 2 others. And the reason for that is I don't remember. I forgot what it was. I think he got in trouble or something, and his stock was like dropping. But all he needs is the team to take a chance at him, and maybe the Giants take a chance at him. Now, one thing that's interesting is he's played cornerback, he's played freaking linebacker, and he's played safety. Now, I believe this year he played linebacker, so maybe he shouldn't be in the linebacker slot, but he can play both positions. Now, this year he had 46 solo, 20 assisted tackles, 13 for a loss. He also had 3 sacks, an interception, a pass deflection, and all in 12 games. So, again, getting Peppers would definitely, I mean, you're getting a playmaker on defense. But, if the Giants wanted to, they could try and troll the Patriots and keep them out of their hands. But Peppers is a player that I think a team that needs a defensive playmaker, a team that's, in the playoffs and, that needs a defensive playmaker like the Falcons or the Patriots, or like the Packers or the Steelers, those are the teams that would really need them. Or like the Cowboys would be a good option but they also kind of need like a pass rusher more. But Peppers can do that for you. But Giants could always do that. But once again, the defense is really not much of a problem, especially the secondary. Secondary is fine. It just needs to stay how it is, really. What really needs to work, the Giants need to work on, is keeping the defensive line together. The linebackers, if they can keep them together, that'd be good. Janoris Jenkins has pleaded with the Giants to keep the defense together, and that's very important in my opinion. Especially if we can, add one piece, add a left tackle on offense. Really, that's all I care about. I mean, if the Giants add that left tackle on offense, and move Eric Flowers to right tackle, and keep the rest of the offensive line with Pugh, Richburg, and John Jerry, then the Giants might be in a position where their offensive line goes from one of the worst to a pretty solid offensive line, and then Eli has more time to throw it. They have a lot better of a running game, and the Giants could be a Super Bowl threat, So hopefully you enjoyed this video. It took forever to make, it feels like, from the information, the research, the creating of the slides, the recording of the video, the editing. So hopefully this gets out to people. Make sure if any of your friends are Giants fans, you show them the video and discuss with them. The main point of this is to discuss. Even if you just want to use the information in this video to discuss with someone, please do. It makes me feel better. And leave a comment saying, "Hey, my friend and I were discussing the info from the video." That would just make my day. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. Yeah, and I really don't have much else for an outro. But yeah, if you like football videos and sports videos, I try to make them as often as I can. So, maybe if you like watching my videos, subscribe. It's up to you. I really don't care. Actually, I do care. It's just if you don't subscribe, you're not hurting my feelings or anything. So anyways, goodbye.